if you look at the bottom of your agenda, did you all get an agenda? Did you all sign in at some point? You should do that. We have 4 meeting rules. We ask you not to interrupt, to raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the person who is leading the discussion. Always assume best intentions. Be respectful when disagreeing, and don't be repetitive. Thank you for doing that. At this point, we'd like to just briefly have you all introduce yourselves. Just briefly say your name if you wish. And just newcomers, people who are new to ASA tonight. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you ended up here tonight. We'll start over here on this side.
Anyone new?
Anyone new?
Oh, Eugene. Yeah. Invited by you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome for being here.
I need to get more time.
If you would know about it.
Go for it.
I think it's my first time and friends over.
Awesome.
Great. Welcome.
Hey, this is Brandon. My name is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Hope you all signed in and taken a leaflet. We always meet on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays of the month, and we're always here at 7:30. So spread the word. Go to our website, check out all the great stuff on the ASA website. I'd like to introduce the rest of our core. Hunter.
Hi, my name is Hunter Olmovich.
I'm Michael Cohen. Welcome, everybody.
I'm Karen Woodson.
Tony Bowles.
Hunter's up next.
So yeah, we touched on this last meeting if you guys were here, but we do have a few updates just for San Francisco MCDs. A 5th MCD in San Francisco actually closed down January 9th, and that's Market Street Co-op. They're really another one of the oldest co-ops in San Francisco, and it's very sad that they got caught up in this as well. In addition to that, attorney, yes, boo.
That's right.
San Francisco attorney Dennis Herrera also put all pending applications for permits on hold until the resolution of the PAC case, and that's another big boo. And in addition to that, so 2 of the dispensaries that were targeted by the federal letters have now switched to delivery services as well. So that's MetaThrive and Divinity Tree.
Yay. Tony?
All right, folks, we got some actions for you. If you grabbed an agenda, you'll see the first one is actually, it's something, it says federal, because it's happening state by state across our country right now. So first of all, we have governors in Washington and in Colorado that are asking the federal government to reschedule cannabis, so it's finally recognized for its medical value. And now we need you guys to go online and ask our very own Governor Jerry Brown to join in this campaign to demand it. If you just go right on to ASA's website, AmericansFirstAidFactSays.org/DEA, you can take action right now if you have a smartphone when you get home. If you can get on the computer at your local coffee shop, we need you to, you can call him and demand that he joins this campaign to reschedule cannabis. The second one is actually a statewide initiative that ASA is helping out with. There's actually a whole statewide coalition of different stakeholders that are involved in this, people in the industry, patients, growers, dispensary operators. And we're trying to come up with a solution to the backlash that we've been seeing in cities and counties and at a statewide level with conservative legislators introducing legislation that's very restrictive. And we are very fearful that they're going to come back this next year and introduce even more onerous legislation. So this is our attempt to actually regulate ourselves instead of allowing that. This is like one of our final. This is probably our one of our last possible attempts that we have to do this without having somebody come in and do it for us. You know, we've had all this time, and we see that we need to do this now. So, working with multiple stakeholders, we came up with the most sensible piece of legislation that we're going to introduce to handle this and then to make the backlash go away. You can go online and take a look at it. The link is safeaccessnow.org/downloads/mmrct.pdf. If you grabbed an agenda, you'll also find the link right on there. But yeah, we've discussed it at our last meeting. There's been multiple meetings, conference calls, and now we are going to be working to get something going here so that it gets on the ballot. We feel like it's important that we're proactive on this issue. Like I said, because if we don't, then our opponents will be. And so finally, the third action is it's SB 129, who our champion, Mark Leno, has introduced. It's patients' rights legislation and workplace discrimination. So we definitely need you to go online and take action on that. AmericasForSafeAccess.org, SB 129. Mark Leno has been a really big champion of ours. This is actually his third attempt to get something passed on this issue. So hopefully this is something that's going to happen this time around. And next up we have Karen here, who's going to be doing the intro to our medical cannabis spokesperson training. Okay.
We've made a change in the schedule. We're going to go through the announcements and open comment in the next meeting. Michael's going to do that, and then we're going to have the training.
Yes. Give a list of four different announcements and updates that are coming up. The Green Cross MCD Medical Cannabis Dispensary, their permit hearing is now scheduled for Thursday, February 16th. That's before the San Francisco Planning Commission at City Hall in room 400. And details will be forthcoming on this. The second one is the San Francisco Medical Cannabis Task Force will be holding its monthly meeting on Friday, on the January 20th, in room 400 in the City Hall, and it's at 9 a.m. in the morning it starts. The East Bay ASA meeting coming up is going to be on the 18th at 6:30 in the evening, and it's at Oaksterdam Student Union, and the address is here if you've haven't been over there before. It's at 1915 Broadway, and they have beverages and a pizza as well, so come for that. The 7th National Clinical Conference on Cannabis Therapeutics is one that I find particularly very interesting coming up. That's going to be coming up in April, at the end of April, on the 26th. It's on the 26th to the 28th. It's at Lowe's. It's going to be held at Lowe's Ventana Canyon Resort, which sounds like really a super place. And now this is in Tucson. If you want to get more information on it, you can go to the medicalcannabis.com, www.medicalcannabis.com, and get more information.
And you can bet it's going to be an exciting conference because Tucson, Arizona, if you've been following what's going on in other states, Arizona has had a particularly difficult time because their governor, Jan Brewer, who we all know from the immigration debate, flipped a script and actually tried to prevent their medical cannabis law from taking effect. And earlier this week or late last week, she was told by the court there in Arizona that she had to actually go ahead and enforce and implement the local state law. So this will be an interesting backdrop to the clinical conference.
And under Arizona law, you as a medical cannabis patient are permitted to bring your own medicine to Arizona. You can't purchase it, but you can bring your own. The next meeting for ASA will be on Tuesday, February 7th. That's 3 weeks from tonight. And we're really excited about the guest speaker we're going to have. Clint Werner will be speaking on his new book, Marijuana Gateway to Health. I've just read it, and it is revolutionary, and it will change some of your notions about how marijuana can be used. So I hope you'll tell everyone you know about this, because this book is hot.
There it is.
It's all based on the latest research on medical cannabis, and it's pretty exciting. And we will have food and beverages at that meeting. We're going to do open comment now before we do the training, so if anyone needs to spend 2 or 3 minutes just talking about something important that they want to share for the good of the order. Paul?
Just a couple of questions. The first one is with the MetaThrive and the people that are doing delivery services, have they been given the permit the same way that Green Cross had, because they are officially permitted by the city? So these are delivery services that are permitted by the city?
In the case of those 2 dispensaries, their permits allow them to deliver. So that, yes. They are still permitted dispensaries by the city, so long as those permits are in place. And we'll see how the PAC decision pans out on that.
Okay. The second one was with the convention in Tucson. Do we know who any of the speakers are going to be?
No, I recommend you go to the website and check it out.
I would assume Andy Wild's going to be there.
From past conferences, you can imagine Andy Wild's going to be there. Donald Abrams will probably give a couple presentations. But it's designed to be sort of the scientific, like to present to the patient and also to the non-lay audience, to the expert audience, sort of what is new, interesting, and up and coming in all things related to medical cannabis research, geared towards helping individual patients with their serious or chronic conditions. So it's not like one of the overarching cannabinoid conferences where you might be hearing about the harms of cannabinoids. This is actually geared towards patients and with the patients in mind.
So it's got a medical bed instead of a hemp fest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's so vetted that doctors and nurses can go there and get continuing education credits to keep up their degrees and their MDs and their RN certification.
And if you're interested in the conference, or you think you might be interested and want to learn more information, you can look up Patients Out of Time or the Clinical Cannabis Conference, and there's tons of YouTube videos of past conferences so you get a sense of what kind of information will be presented and in the way it might be presented.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else who wants to say something? Albert?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to stop, but I don't know what happened. Mr. Nice Guy, which I heard got a letter to the landlord. I saw the open sign on the door. At first they were only doing delivery when everybody gets shut down. I was wondering how they might have got back.
Are you sure it's the entire dispensary, or is it just their pipe shop?
Was the sign up, Albert? Because they took the sign down a while ago.
The open, it said open.
But and the frontage on the Mr. Nice Guy sign, the frontage on the building itself.
I'm not sure, but I just noticed that the door was open, the light on, and I know
It was definitely where Nice Guy was.
right there. Yeah. People going in and out.
Someone should get to the bottom of this.
Huh?
Someone should get to the bottom of this.
Well, they got a letter. I was wondering, remember in
A friendly reporter in the
2007?
room.
Remember the scare in 07? They sent letters and nobody got scared. Maybe people are saying that it's about.
They're doing a slow closing.
Did their landlord threaten to kick them out? I mean, how's their landlord stance been on this? Did they decide to let them stay in?
Okay,
Stay
so
open?
to answer Albert's question, does anyone in here have an affiliation with Mr. Nice Guy that can answer this question or volunteer information on their behalf? All right.
Okay.
Our best guess is your guess, Albert. Kevin, and then the back.
I looked at the legal paperwork you're talking about, the MMRCT, and it's like super ridiculous to read people like us. Like last time you were went over it for us, it was like way better. Would you be able to do that again? Now that was like more for us to throw in our input, but even if for you to go over it, to tell us what it even says in legal words.
We can schedule that for another action meeting and try to do it again and promote it.
go over the way it ends
But
up.
only if you get people to turn out, because people don't want to hear me do that twice.
Well, the last time I thought it was more for us to like to modify
He's
it,
saying
and
he
then
can't
now we can go over it
understand
again
it.
with
Like, it's just
modifications,
really hard to read.
final
Is
draft.
it online? Is there video online? On Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, our video. We
That's
videotaped
right.
that. So
We
it's
videotaped
online.
it. You can watch
Online.
online when we did the presentation. We videoed it, and it's on our Facebook page.
So what all the modifications that we said just all got put in there, and that's it. There's no other.
A
There's nothing
lot
else
of the
for anyone else.
modifications, but not all. Like for instance, one of the things that we talked about is the bill, for instance, lacks a lot of patient rights. There's no employment piece. There's no in protection for, let's say, CPS protection for Child Protective Services or the like. So, I mean, there's some controversial stuff in there in terms of what it lacks. But again, to be clear, that document is a consensus-based document with a large coalition of organizations. And I don't know if anyone's ever participated in a real consensus-based approach, especially to policymaking, but you basically start with what you can agree with, and what you can't agree with moves to the side. And so in that case, it was going to be harder to sell patients' rights and easier to sell a tax-based incentive bill that would give the broader public reason to support the initiative. Because again, we're not the only voters, right? If only that were true. But we have to appease 50% plus one of the California voters. So it's a consensus-based document, but it's geared towards appeasing the general public, not just medical cannabis patients. Does that make sense? Other in the back.
A few quick non-cannabis related items. One, Occupy on Friday is going to try and have demonstrations throughout the city all day. There's a couple of little flyers I brought. It's going to be raining, so I don't know what the turnout's going to be like. I'm going to try and go. And then on Sunday, January 22nd, at 3rd in Oakdale, it's a Justice for Kenneth Harding demonstration. He was the youngster that was shot on the bus for not having bus fare, or the altercation that arose from that. So his family is trying to keep his memory alive and protest police violence on Sunday out at New
What time?
Oh, it is at noon.
We're like by the Opera House?
It's 3rd in Oakdale.
Okay, yeah, the Opera House.
Is that it?
In the
front?
Most of you probably know me, and some of you might not. I'm Rob Simmons, President of California Medical Marijuana Patients Association, San Mateo County, Belmont. I'm being prosecuted again. I'm very proud of myself. I recently got back on the normal list. I'm trying to rebuild. Patients still depend on me. I'm on double bail right now for something I was already found not guilty. I went to prison for the first time on a not guilty. Got everything back they sent me to prison for: my marijuana, my money, my scale, my hash. Pretty much the same thing I'm on double bail for. And they offered me 2 years before I got arrested again in August. I recently got arrested again in San Francisco, believe it or not, by U.S. Park Police at the end of Van Ness. You got to really be careful down there. Them park cops are dicks. They stole all my pot and charged me with a felony for a quarter gram of hash. The DA dropped it, of course, but then I got extradited to Santa Barbara for probation violation. And they tried to, I was going to maybe get like a year, but I ended up, because they're trying to violate me for my double bail that I'm on. And I ended up getting out in like a week or so. And then I got robbed and totally assaulted and like almost bled to death. It was like a nightmare. And just like, the cops are on my side because after San Francisco. But once in a while I got driven here by somebody I thought I knew, pretty well in San Mateo. Supposed to sleep at his ex-wife's house, and next thing I passed out in his truck. Maybe he drugged me, I don't know.
Rob, we got a wrap.
I go to court February 17th. They're trying to, they stopped my criminal proceedings. They're trying to send me back to Napa State Hospital, which they're trying to drug me against my will. And, so I don't go to trial. They're trying to not give me justice. The health department's been backing me up for years. They don't want me to be able to subpoena witnesses or have patients testify on my behalf or anything. So I'm getting screwed again. I really need some help. My congresswoman's written Obama 3 times for my part. I got 2 letters from Senate President Darrell Steinberg and San Quentin, so I've tried everything. Senator Leno, and Senator Leno's, you know, I know him personally, he still can't help me, you know. So I'm getting screwed, and basically my pardon would be up in the hands of Jerry Brown. He prosecuted me, he's Attorney General. So now my pardon's got to go up with Obama, so. I voted for him, and now I can't even vote, and they took away my real estate license, and it's just, I've been on the homeless. The DA, when he was deputy DA, said in the paper that I'm doing this for the money. That's just totally, absolutely not true. A lot of you are willing to risk everything that I have, and my freedom, and my own pot, and my own money, and my own housing situation, my own real estate license, my, you know, own criminal record and everything, you know. My parents won't even talk to me. They think that I'm insane. They think that I need help and that I got a drug problem. You know, but I really care about patients. I even created a state medical marijuana e-card program. Good that did, you know. Still got prison time. I'm not guilty, by the way. It took me 6.5 months to get out of that one. I'm supposed to have a hearing within 13 days, but I lost my parole hearing activator card in the mail because I won the case.
All right, 10 seconds, Rob. Tell us who, what, when, where, and why.
February 17th, I go back to court, so please support me. I'm still trying to help patients.
Where?
I'm on
Where?
parole.
Where and when?
Which court?
Redwood City, San Mateo County.
What time?
Probably 9.
Okay.
45.
Do you know the address?
400 County Center Road.
Okay. February
Rob
17th.
Simmons. It'll probably be under Robert Simmons.
Okay.
February 17th.
Okay.
Facebook.com/420 dispensary.
Thank you, Rob.
And I'm
Thank
on
you,
Yelp
Rob.
too.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Yelp.com/biz/California-Medical-Marijuana-Dispensary-Belmont/.
All right. Okay. So the next and last part of this meeting is going to be a spokesperson training. So yay for showing up for this spokesperson training. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get set up here for 3 minutes. So get up, stretch, get ready to use your mind and your brain and think hard because we're going to be preparing messages and thinking about how to become a more effective medical cannabis advocate. Interactive, action-based steps here, one-on-one. But largely you're going to be watching and then we're going to be doing. So hopefully that works out. In order to complete this training, please make sure you grab an agenda. And this is the worksheet on your agenda, a couple sheets back, that we're going to be using throughout this training process. And it's also a helpful worksheet if you don't fill out this worksheet in the process. That's okay. You can take it home and use it for future reference. Okay?
Anyone need an agenda?
Agenda's in the back, right here.
Right there, David. Do you need one?
David, Rob needs one.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so before we get started, I just want to give you a brief overview of what we're going to hope to accomplish in this training, which we anticipate will probably take a little bit more than an hour, so we want to start getting rolling. But the point of this is that every activist, if you're an advocate, if you're an activist, if you believe that you are here to help effectuate change on medical marijuana policies, and every activist needs a little bit of experience with public speaking. Now, how many of you have ever had public speaking experience? By a show of hands. How many of you are terrified of public speaking? How many of you raised your hand on the first question and the second question? All right. So the big secret is, there's a famous quote by Mark Twain that says, every public speaker is terrified, and if they're not, they're a liar. So just to give you an indication, public speaking can be an incredibly stressful thing to do. I didn't come by public speaking in a natural way. This is years and years and years of practice. And I still, you can talk to Chris Roberts wherever he went. When I talk to reporters, I still get a little nervous. I still have to say, wait, hold up, scratch that, let me start over again. And those things are okay. So the point of this training is to help you become better public speakers and get more familiar speaking from the angle of a medical cannabis patient, a medical cannabis supporter, a provider, however you identify yourself in this in this broader movement. But the goal is for us to be able to acquire a skill to use our speaking skills to inform, motivate, and persuade others. And that's the point of public speaking, is to inform, motivate, and persuade. And that's sort of what we're going to hope to cover in the next hour or so with these videos. Now, if we run out of time, because I respect Green Door's time, space, and place here, if we run out of time, this entire training is available on the ASA website, and you can literally go right to the homepage at AmericanFirstSafeAccess.org, hit projects, trainings, it's the first thing that pops up, and in there you'll find not only all of these great videos, but other great videos that you can use on your own time or for whatever. But here we thought you had a great audience. Everyone needs to know how to be a public speaker, and with so many initiatives coming up, with so many different things going on here locally and at the federal and national level, we thought this was an important time to sort of use this opportunity to help all of you build a skill and become better assets for the broader medical cannabis community. So with that in mind, we're going to turn our attention to these giant flat screens provided by the Green Door. 7, we love these things. So it might be difficult for those of you on this side of the room, but arch your head for a second. They're not too long. And then we'll come back and hear your feedback.
I went through the same process that probably every patient goes through when they start using cannabis therapeutic. I went through the same process that probably every patient goes through when they start using cannabis therapeutics, and they start seeing them work. They started getting really frustrated that the way that this medicine got brought to my attention was through the means of last resort. That my doctor, he had watched me suffer for 6 months with other ailments, but because he didn't understand this medicine, it really didn't get brought up as a possibility until I was facing the loss of my kidneys. When patients use this medicine and they see how much it works, you start thinking, well, why did I hear about this just now? Why is this coming in so late into my treatments? And I think that makes people go down sort of a natural course of having to ask the questions. Why is this illegal federally? Why are people going to jail? Why are doctors getting prosecuted? So as you start asking yourself these questions, what you will find, and you'll start digging up, is a very rich history of patient advocates. And at every step of history that I've found about medical cannabis, there's a patient that's either fighting a state law in court. There's a patient that is petitioning the DEA for access to their medication. And I think that as I was meeting individuals at the dispensaries, meeting other patients and learning more about this history, I really felt that I had a role that I had to play. That this was a movement that was being fought for patients, by patients, and that if I wanted this medication, that I was going to have to fight for it.
My name is Don Duncan. I'm the California Director of Americans for Safe Access. The California Director is in charge of the state county for safe access. The state of California is the nation's oldest medical cannabis program and probably the largest. I'm in charge of legislative initiatives here in the state of California, both in monitoring for bad legislation, the good legislation, and also in the local campaign to adopt good regulations in cities and counties all over the state. My work also involves training activists and doing media work to ensure that the patient's voice is at the forefront of debate in California.
My name is Autumn Hall. My name is Elizabeth Whitty. My name is Lindsay Shively. I'm the Member Services Coordinator here at ASA. I'm a legislative analyst in the DC office of Americans for Safe Access. I work in the legal department and answer the legal hotline when people call ASA with questions or legal needs.
My name is Lauren Payne. Hello, my name is Riddell Wilson, and I am the Community Liaison Director for Americans for Safe Access.
I am the Office and Finance Manager at ASA. I oversee the general operations of the organization, most specifically related to our finances. I am the Legal Coordinator and Regulations Analyst for Americans for Safe Access.
Hi, I'm Joe Elford. I'm Chief Counsel with Americans for Safe Access.
My name is Kristen Ford, and I'm the Field Coordinator for Americans for Safe Access. As a Field Coordinator of ASA, it is my responsibility to connect patients and activists with the campaigns and resources ASA offers.
It's important for us to remember that we're making this up as we go. A conversation that I find myself having with policymakers and advocates alike is that there's not a perfect medical marijuana law right now. Not a single one of them is perfect. These are all experiments in democracy, and there are pieces of them that are working, and there are pieces of them that we want. It's more important than ever now for us to be as clear and as articulate about where we see the medical cannabis movement going. When we began ASA, most of the dialogue that we were having with elected officials across the country, especially outside of California, was a message about what we didn't want. It was very easy to convey to an elected official that we wanted the DEA to stop raiding dispensaries. Right? That's a much easier conversation than telling your elected official what you want the federal government to do instead around medical cannabis. And so most of our advocates around the country are finding themselves having very in-depth conversations with elected officials and with their community about not only what the criminal protections will look like for medical cannabis patients and their providers, but also how the community is going to provide this medicine. And that means that how we move forward, how we frame those regulations are going to have a big impact on what medical cannabis is going to look like in our community. So at ASA, we have some guiding principles that are a part of our vision. You may not agree with all of these, but I think that it is important for you to understand as a medical cannabis advocate where we're coming from as an organization, how we make strategic decisions on what we work on and what we don't work on, and how we decide how we're going to support this movement. We believe that any medical cannabis laws should build on the access that you already have. So this means that if before a state law passes or a city regulation passes, if you have been effectively treating yourself with medical cannabis by growing it yourself or by having someone grow it for you, the laws that policymakers make should build on that access, not try to replace it. Yes, having medical cannabis dispensing centers are going to be a great asset for medical cannabis patients. But it's not the only way to regulate medical cannabis. Secondly, we believe that any sort of therapeutic use of medical cannabis should build on the whole plant. Beer industries spend a significant amount of their budget every year studying aspirin. But they already know that aspirin is safe and that it works for people. And so what we mean by this is that we're excited to see every pharmaceutical company in the world start looking at cannabinoid and cannabinoid research and endocannabinoids. But the truth is patients know that the botanical plant works. We know that no one has ever died from using this medication, and we're excited to learn more about this plant. But it doesn't mean that any of these different applications should replace the use of this plant. We think that all models of access should keep the botanical plant in mind, and that all regulations should follow other botanical dietary supplements. At ASA, we want to see this medicine and the distribution of this medicine stay at a community-based model. One of the things that we have found with patients using cannabis therapeutics effectively is if they have some help in using these products. And so access is one important part, of a successful medical cannabis program, but also having people that they can talk to about this medicine that can help them use it in a better way is going to be important of any access plan. We want to make sure that medical cannabis stays affordable and actually the prices go down. Every time we talk about a new level of regulation, the truth is we're adding a cost, a real cost of production of this plant. Think about ways to keep this medicine affordable, whether you're talking about the restrictions and regulations that are added to dispensing centers, or whether you're looking at state taxes. This is a medicine, and it's one that patients have control over, and it's one that they should be able to add to their pain care regimen at an affordable cost. And finally, any medical cannabis program should take away criminal penalties, not create them. They should ensure patients' rights and not jeopardize them. What I mean by this is that all laws should create criminal exceptions for medical cannabis patients and their providers. They should create civil protections. In order for us to make sure that medical cannabis laws include this vision, it means that we're going to have to stand up and fight for that vision. Instead of just showing up to DEA offices with protest signs, now it's time to go in to meet with those federal officials. Go in and meet with your members of Congress and your senators. Go meet with your state representatives and help them think through how to provide medical cannabis to patients who need it. This is a very complicated issue, and as a medical cannabis advocate, you are an expert. You are going to be bringing the information to policymakers that they don't otherwise have. If you want to be a part of this vision, if you want to be a part of creating these laws, this is your time. And I hope that you use the resources in this video and the manual to help you become a medical cannabis advocate. But I'd also like to challenge you. It's one thing to state your opinions on listservs and forums. It's another to make a commitment to yourselves and to your fellow advocates that you're going to show up. And this year, I'd like all of you to join me in a pledge to meet with all of your elected officials this year. I want you to meet with everyone from your senator down to your city council member. All of these people affect your life. They affect the laws around you. And these people are all hearing about medical cannabis, but they're hearing it from other people. The DEA, the Partnership for Drug-Free America, all of these organizations have lobbying staff that are meeting with your elected officials and shaping their vision of medical cannabis. So if you are not going to that office with information, those members of Congress aren't getting it.
That's why I'm getting treated so fucked up.
As a medical cannabis advocate, you are joining a very rich and exciting movement, and I want to welcome you to that movement. I want to congratulate you on bringing information to your elected officials that they're not going to otherwise hear. I want to prepare you for the challenges ahead, the frustration of being caught in a crossfire of a political war and the war on drugs. I want to prepare you for losing friends that are part of this movement. We're made up of many of us are sick, many of us are terminally ill. So I want to prepare you for some of the teachers that you're going to meet. We're going to lose along the way. And I also want to prepare you for the dedication that it's going to take for us to realize this vision and to make safe access available for all Americans. But it's a challenge that I've taken. It's a challenge that over 50,000 Americans have taken with Americans for Safe Access, and I'm looking forward to working with you all.
How many people recognize friends and loved ones in that video?
I recognize almost everybody in there.
How many of those actions took place right here in San Francisco?
Yay!
All right, so next we're going to watch the strategic message video, and for this we're going to go right into your worksheet. You're going to need to get ready to do number B in your worksheet, which is strategic plans, guide your messaging. But first we're going to watch the video and get key tips on how you create a strategic message, Then we're going to break down into groups and actually go ahead and create a strategic message around a particular issue, okay?
Strategic messaging means that you are deciding what to say and when to say it. Strategic messaging means that you are laying out the vernacular and the focus of the debate around medical cannabis. And by creating messages that you can not only use yourself but also share with community members, you're going to provide a united voice on key issues in your community. The average person has a very superficial understanding about medical cannabis. They're not thinking about all the nuances that your community is thinking about. So while it's healthy to debate these issues in forums like at your chapter or on forums, on listservs, and the more unified we are in our messages, the more likely we're gonna get the media and elected officials to focus on the topics we want them to. Even though we all come to medical cannabis from a different perspective, that actually creates diversity in a single message. The more people, no matter what walk of life, no matter what age, ethnicity, having them say the same message over and over again, but from their perspective, shows that there is a consensus about how we move forward in medical marijuana. So going through a strategic planning process that you're going to go through in this training is going to help you set up those messages. The first step in creating a strategic message is to know your audience. A lot of times, activists spend way too much of their time trying to convince the 20% to agree with us instead of focusing on getting the 80% to be active with us. And so in your messages, don't spend the only camera time you have trying to convince a very small opposition. Instead, craft your messages so they're reaching out to people that you know already agree with you and you know are more likely to act. So that means crafting your messages for self-identified medical cannabis supporters, people who have already come out with positive statements. So you're conveying to them a message that they already support, but now there's more for them to do. Craft your messages for other political activists and potential allies. If you're working on a city issue and you want to reach out to other patient advocates, put out messages that focus on the parallels between medical cannabis and other patient advocacy organizations and movements. And focus on the machine middle. Within medical cannabis, there's an array of levels of support. While 80% of the nation does support this issue, the truth is about 2% have actually done something active to make medical cannabis a safe and legal option for patients in their communities. So that means that there's still this middle of America that agrees with us, that for some reason or another they haven't identified this as their issue or really done something beyond supporting it in conversation with their friends or when a pollster calls. So the next step in creating your strategic message is talking about how you want to frame the issue. The issues of medical cannabis can be broken down in lots of different perspectives, but it's important for you, as you're talking to the media and elected officials, to know how you want them to view this issue. What is the broader context that you want them to look at medical cannabis through? And the way that we frame our issue can be as simple as vernacular. Use terms that are more healthcare oriented. It's going to sound more natural for someone who is a healthcare advocate. Those of us who are involved in this movement represent a minority. And so what we have to do through the framing of our message is try to include as many people as possible in that message, to try to get as many people to self-identify with our movement, even if they're not directly using medical cannabis themselves. Our opponents love to try to reframe this issue. When we first started Americans for Safe Access, the DEA and the federal government, every time they were asked about medical cannabis, their line was simple: marijuana has no accepted value. We heard that message over and over again until advocates started really pushing the envelope about medical cannabis, and we started moving the conversation of medical cannabis away from simple law enforcement encounters and started having debates in public about how we get this medicine to patients. So our opponents could no longer use simple messages like marijuana has no accepted medical value. Now what we hear from our opponents is that smoked marijuana has no accepted value, or that it shows some possibilities, but we really need to put this through FDA. Those are the messages of our opponents. And so it's important when we're framing our issues not to fall into a trap of responding to our opposition, using their terminology, having a debate where they want to direct us. Instead, when you frame your message, you're setting the tone for debate. You're setting the parameters of the conversations you want to have about medical cannabis. And the last part of strategic messaging is often the hardest for medical cannabis advocates, and that's getting behind a unified message. This means that as you're developing your key messages, you have to share them with others. You can't just expect people to know the strategies that you're employing. So getting everyone behind one message is a challenge, but as a movement, it's something that we can do. While getting behind one message may seem like a daunting task for medical cannabis activists, there are actually some very simple tools you can use to accomplish this mission. That means that before a press conference, print up talking points. Have them ready for people that are about to talk to the media. This is a way that anyone who is at your protest or your event can simply pick up the key messages and personalize them themselves. Or before a hearing at your state legislature, print up key points that you want the legislature to hear. Obviously, people don't need to read the same points, but they personalize them. And it's an easy way to get everyone speaking on the same messages. So now I want you to look at your worksheet again and look at creating messages. The way that you're going to go through this process is you're going to first identify the problems. This means that the problems you identified probably in your strategic planning section earlier. So what is the problem facing the city? The city is banning dispensaries. The city is creating zoning restrictions. So just articulate what the problem is. Then articulate what the solution is, followed by what action people can take to help make that solution. And then once you have those 3 points on, then you can start creating your key messages, or what you may call talking points.
Okay, now we're going to break out into groups and do an exercise to complete this. So what I like to do is literally split in two. Half of you on this side of the room, half of you on that side of the room. Please indulge me. Don't leave these 4 people over here hanging. Yeah. Come on. Everyone's friends. Everyone's got medicine here. So move them over. You're going to want help. So, all right. Instead of having every single one of you do this, what I want you to do is, as a group, go through this process. I'm going to give you a topic. And group 1 is going to have a different audience than group 2, but we're going to create strategic messages around a key problem. Got it? And when you go through this process, every one of you guys should be participating. And I'm going to have core members come down to each group and make sure that you guys are keeping on task. If this group ends up, if these groups are too big, break out into smaller groups. It's fine. You can break into 3 or 4 groups as well. But what we're first going to do is, the problem is, and this is a problem we all currently face, and something we've been talking about for the past 6 months here at the chapter, is trying to get our federal representatives, Ms. Nancy Pelosi, Ms. Senator Dianne Feinstein, and Ms. Senator Boxer, to support legislation in Congress that would reschedule marijuana and let the states do what they want in terms of regulation and bar federal interference. Okay, that's a piece of legislation. We call it H.R. 1983, the Medical Marijuana Patients Protection Act. But basically, all you need to know is that that is the goal that we're trying to do, is communicate to our different audiences, which I'll give in a minute, is why this particular piece of legislation, 1983, which is designed to reschedule marijuana and let states regulate as they wish. Okay, so that's going to be the problem. What you guys are going to do is number B and C in here. You're going to define what the goals of your message are. I'm going to tell you your target audience. You're going to identify some of the problems, some of the solutions, and the specific actions you want your audience to take. And then you're going to go through and create a single talking point. You're going to identify the problem, solution, and action toward your particular audience, okay? So for this group over here closest to the wall, your target audience is other medical marijuana patients, okay? For this larger group over here, your target audience group is medical marijuana doctors. Okay, why we need doctors, or any doctor, let's not say medical marijuana, why we need medical personnel to support rescheduling. That's your target audience. So go ahead, start talking, collaborate. This is a vocal action. You guys can't talk facing me, you have to talk facing each other. So seriously, go ahead and start talking about what are the goals. Your target audience should be identified. You guys are medical marijuana patients. You guys are doctors and nurses. And we're going to have 10 minutes for this. So 10 minutes. Interactive, action-based steps here, one-on-one. But largely you're going to be watching and then we're going to be doing. So hopefully that works.
How about this too? Better and cheaper.
So the